What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're out here in the shop tonight. We're working on the pressure washer. This is a part 2 video. We got the pump sitting on some blocks here. I'm working on getting the pump brackets made and stuff. I'll show you guys what I got going on, kind of where we left off the last video. I've got this piece of 1/2 inch by 6 inch wide flat bar here, and I've made a plate in it. This pump has holes on the top and on the bottom. This plate will actually go on the bottom of the pump down here where the boards are, but I'm using it on the top just to kind of mock everything up while I got it sitting here. I cut some 3 inch by 3 inch by 1/4 inch angle iron, drilled a 3/4 hole in the center of it with a mag drill. I made it a little bit narrower than the flat bar. I'm trying to get it setting up here square, and as I say, the plate goes on the bottom, but I got to have room in order for this not to hit this leg down here when I loosen it up. So I offset it back this way and try to get that squared up right there so that I can get it tacked into place. And then I have the other one over here that'll kind of go right there like that, and something like that, but it'll be, you know, further up here somewhere where I weld it in place, and that'll bolt down to another plate that I'll have to put down here. So let me get this squared up here, and I'm gonna set it over here on a block of wood or something, get it squared up with this, and go ahead and get this here put where I need it to be, get this bracket welded up, and then it'll be ready to bolt to the bottom of the pump here with these holes that I got drilled. Alright guys, so this is our mount here that's going to bolt to the bottom of the pump, and part of me thinks I should probably put something in here to keep those from folding, but another part of me thinks it's probably not required because it's probably already overbuilt. It's a 3 by 3 by 1/4 angle with 1/2 by 6 flat bar that's going to bolt to the bottom of the pump. This is not centered. I kind of put these ears where I needed them to be. This one here can stick out further because there's no clearance issue over here, where this one here needed to be tucked in a little bit more to keep from hitting the other piece of square tubing down there. I put a nut right here so that I'll be able to put like a jack bolt right here to tension this up. And as I say, this is sitting upside down right now. It'll flip over and be held down with 2 3/4 inch bolts. Once I get my mount on the other side of the frame built that this will sit down on. And I'm probably going to use this piece of 1/2 by 6 flat bar to do that with. There's definitely an easier way to do it. If I had some angle iron, I could just space it apart, or some flat bar, I could space apart that width and make a sliding notch, but the only flat bar and angle I have is 3 inch, and that's going to be too wide, and it'll wind up hitting the pulley between, in other words, a piece of 3 inch won't fit between the pulley and the edge of the groove that I need. At least I don't believe so. So I'm gonna have to remove these blocks here and do some measuring and get me a mount kind of fabricated up here that'll sit on, and that'll bolt to that. Alright guys, so I've got my pump mounting bracket here painted and sitting over here letting it finish cooling off so I can handle it. And got my piece of 1/2 by 6 flat bar up here and got it marked out. And what I'm going to have to do is I've marked it lengthwise, the correct length, and then I've marked here where I can drill the ends, and I'm going to have to make this a slot down through here so that that top piece can sit on this and then slide back and forth in the notch for the belt adjustment is what I have in mind. As I say, this would be easier if I had 2 pieces of something the right width that I could just put them together kind of, but I don't have anything the right width, and time I go through trying to cut something down, narrow it down, it'd just be just as easy just to cut a notch in this. So that's what we're going to do, is set up the mag drill here, drill a hole in each end, and then I'll try to mark out my spot here in the middle and get my notch cut out, and then we'll get this fabbed up on the frame, and the other piece should bolt to this and slide back and forth. there's our plate with our slot cut in it for our adjustment. All right, we need to get our pump bracket that we made mounted on the bottom of our pump. So we need to flip our pump up. In order to do that, like so. That hole not big enough? Just got a burr on it. Or weld being in it or something. There's not very much thread sticking through with the washer on it, so we're going to take the washer off. I don't need a washer when it's going through 1/2 inch plate anyways. Okay, so alright guys, I've got our mounts here on our pump. Turn it over here, set back up here. Them holes has got to line up there. Slip a belt back on here just for measurement, see where we're at. Alright, so we got to get our slot here lined up with our holes. And our blocks and stuff's in the way. Surely that's not going to hit that pulley. No, it'll be okay. Alright, so anyway, those slots will line that. Anyway, these holes here will line up in this slot, and this will be able to slide backwards and forwards. But what I'm going to have to do is notch out right here where this goes, but I got to get all this setting right first in order to determine that. And so I think I've got this, my blocks of wood sitting all wrong. Let's see here what I can do to fix that. I need to turn this up this way. Set this on top. What I'm trying to determine here is how far over this plate needs to be to where I got to notch it there. So I'm trying to get it figured out here. I really don't need that belt on there. What I do need is a level. Go across the straight edge, across the face of my pulleys here. We don't have to be 100% exact at the moment. I just need to get a rough measurement so I can put my notch right there. If we're off a little bit, I can fill that up with weld as long as we're halfway close. So I think we're halfway close. I'm going to put a mark down here so that I can notch that, and then this will slide on in 2 inches. Alright guys, I got our notch cut out in the corner of our plate there, and so it's kind of going to set up there somewhere in there, and then this here is going to set on top of that, like that, and then I'll have to get all this squared up for it to work, and weld a piece of angle right here. There'll be a bolt going in for a jack bolt to tension this back, and then I've got to support this off of this frame with some square tubing or something or other. That's kind of the idea. So I need to get my height set right. For one, I got it, it's a little bit too high right there where it's at for where I want it at. I mean, it would work, but I think that's a little higher than what I want. Although it does appear that would work right there, that high. Just trying to make sure I got enough clearance to, move this in so that I can get my belt on and off easily without having to fight it or anything. That's pretty close at the moment. Till I get something else tacked up there where I can get it exactly where I want it. I'm still thinking of setting up a little bit higher than what I want, but it would work right there. But I want to lower it back down just a couple inches. That'll give me more room here from a belt guard to come up under the muffler right there. So I might cut me some square tubing or something that'll support that where I got the block of wood, measure the height I want and get it squared up, but that's kind of how it's going to sit right there. Alright guys, I got me 2 pieces of square tubing here that was left over when I cut these. And I'm going to pull this block of wood out, set this plate back up here on top of the pieces of square tubing. I'm going to set there. I'm going to set that there. We'll set one of them out here somewhere. And then this plate can sit on that for me to get an idea what I'm working with here. And of course it wants to turn over. Let me slide this out further on this corner. Look at that. Okay, so that's looking a wee bit better. I had to get it all squared up and set in its place. I think that will leave me room to put my belt guard, something like that right there, up under the exhaust. does seem to be room enough that this will slide forward plenty far enough. That's what I was worried about right there. Was the reason I recessed this as far as it did. It could have stuck out a touch more, looks like. But I want to make sure that I had enough room here in order to get my belt on and off. I kind of did this. I ordered two different belts. I ordered a longer one first, and then I realized before I even got it in that it was going to be too long after I got the engine setting up here like it was. I got to measuring, and I figured out it was going to be a little bit too long because it was going to put my pulley back here about two inches further, and I was going to have trouble doing it that way, being able to get a belt guard over this and having enough room there, because this frame is originally shorter, as I said, than what I originally planned, because the available tubing that I had in stock was a few inches short than what I really had designed this for. But I thought I could make it work without buying all new tubing. So I just had to order a second belt that was a little bit shorter, move the pump up a couple inches closer than what I originally planned. But that right there, I believe, will work. So I'm going to pull the pump back off and get this plate squared up and get her tacked into place. Alright guys, so I've got everything mocked up, welded on, squared away, all that good stuff. You see how I did that there? I just got this bolt right here stuck in here. I need a longer bolt. This is just a 5-inch regular bolt. I need a bolt that's a little bit longer, really. That way I can weld a piece of flat bar or something out here, drill a hole in it, put the bolt through. The bolt's tied in there. When you tighten the bolt up, it'll pull this carriage that I built back here and tension the belt up. That way you're not trying to sit there with a pry bar against the side of the pump or something like that. Anyway, I've got everything lined up the way it should be with everything's pretty well in line right there, as you see, across the face of the pulleys with a level. So it's about the right height that I need it to be in order to build a belt guard. Just using the level for simulation there. Most likely be a piece of channel iron or something. But build a belt guard around it like that. And you know, something like this here. Not exactly sure yet, but we'll work on that a little later. So the next thing I need to do is cut me out a piece of flat bar here, or angle iron, and drill a hole in it for the bolt to go through. Even though I don't have a bolt yet, I could use a piece of all thread, but I don't have one of those either. So that's the next thing. I don't have the pump bolted down, just got the bolt strapped through the hole there, just to set everything up, make sure everything was lined up before I welded everything. Alright guys, I welded a piece of 2x2 angle iron up there. I'm just going to use that 5-inch bolt because I have one, and that's going to limit my adjustment a little bit. But whenever I put my belt guard on there, I don't think I'm going to have any more room than that to work with anyway. So we're going to give that a shot here. I'm going to snug these bolts up just a little bit. That way it don't try to tilt and get all cattywampus on it. And then we'll see if you get the belt snugged up. We'll try that just for time being. Probably gonna take all this stuff back apart to paint it and everything anyways. Alright guys, let's talk a little bit about this pump here. This is an AR pump. You can see that right there. It's an AR pump. It is a RKA 4.5 G40HN. That is a 4.5 gallon, 4,000 PSI pump at 1,750 RPM. It ships with these plugs in it. You have to remove those, and they send you a dipstick there with it so that you can check the fluid for oil or whatever. And I think it's supposed to have some oil in it. Then we have to set up the unloader valve there. Make sure we got some oil in this thing first before we do anything. If not, I got some oil over there. I bought an extra thing. Yes, it has some oil in it. Alright, I kind of want to test run this thing before I get too far ahead of myself. So this is going to be our out. That's where the unloader goes. This is a VRT3 unloader. It's a 4,500 PSI is what it'll go up to. And so we got to set this up over there. It'll kind of go like that right there. And then our inlet will screw in here. And I've got a little trick on the bypass hose here. Typically on these, your bypass hose comes off of your unloader right there and goes back in your inlet. And if you let the thing sit there and run with your finger or hand not on the trigger, your pump will overheat. I ordered a thermal valve right here to go in this side of the pump, and barely enough room right there, but I got it to fit. It is a little bit of clearance there. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it ain't much. I had to slide my pulley out just a touch to make that work, but that's kind of a safety thing. I wanted to have on there, and that way if something happens, the pump should not overheat. Hopefully that thing will open up at like 145 degrees or so, and spray water out of it to keep from burning the pump up. But I do have another idea here as well that I've never seen this done, but I'm planning on putting a transmission cooler on the front of this thing to run my bypass hose through, because the way they usually do, as I say, you have this comes out of your unloader and it goes right back in the intake when you're off the trigger, so it's sitting there circulating water and the water gets hot. What a lot of the professionals do on these type setups is they have what they call a buffer tank, which instead of pulling off of the water hose, they will pull out of a tank, and then your hose here will go back to your water tank, and so you know you're steadily getting fresh water from your water tank so it don't overheat. But I don't have a water tank. I plan to run this thing off a water hose, so what I'm going to try to do is put a transmission cooler in front of the radiator up here and then run my lines over here so that I'm off the trigger. The water comes out of the bypass here, goes through the transmission cooler, goes back in the intake, and keeps it cool. And as a secondary backup, I put this thermal relief in there. So we're going to get that all plumbed up and kind of see how that's going to work. As I say, I've never seen that done before like that. So it's just an idea I had, and we'll see how it goes. Alright guys, so I got this thing sort of kind of plumbed up. My hose is right here a little bit short, and it came with 1/2-inch hose fittings right here because that's a 1/2-inch hose. This is 3/8 hose that came with the transmission cooler. Got the transmission cooler installed up here with the bracket it came with in front of the radiator there, you see. I'll have to get some more transmission cooler line or some more hose here, because I got these stretched a little bit tight. I had a fitting here that's 3/8 that worked, and this here is a airline fitting. So I just got that on there right now. I got this hooked up, everything, water's going to it. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm sure we can make my neighbors happy by cranking this thing up, but I'm kind of interested to see what happens. I got a pressure gauge on here, and I've got a number 5 tip in the the gun over there. And so I'm going to have to adjust this pressure regulator up and everything and see. Just want to kind of check things out and let it run for a little bit. Still a lot of work to do here, obviously, to get this thing complete. I'm kind of at the stage, you know, if you ever worked on a hot rod, you get the motor stuck down in there and you got none of the accessories on, nothing, you know, the hood's off of it, everything's off of it, but you want to crank it up and see what it sounds like. That's kind of where I'm at here, you know. Nothing's nowhere close to complete, but, you know, I kind of want to crank it up and see what it does. Give me some motivation to go ahead and finish it. I got a boat gas tank there, got some fuel and everything in. Got the water turned on, as I say. Already got, squeeze the trigger and let the air get out of it and everything. So I'm gonna set you guys up over here and we're gonna see if we can get this thing cranked up. All right guys, we're gonna give this thing a little bit of glow plug here. Let it preheat for about 10 seconds. And I got the pressure backed off this unloader, so maybe we won't have to go hold the gun trigger to get it to spin over. guys, so that was with a number 5 tip. I do have some 4.5 tips, but with a number 5 tip, we were looking at about 3,100 PSI, look like, on the gauge there. And the pump wasn't turning quite as fast as it should be. We were down about, I think it was 1650 or 60 something. Anyway, it should be turning at 1750. So it's pulling that motor down pretty good. I may need to turn up the fuel screw just a little bit or increase the engine RPM just a little bit. So I'm going to make some adjustments and we'll try it again with the same number 5 tip and see what we get. But it is pretty stout. It's got a pretty good pushback on the one there when you squeeze the trigger. So got a few leaks and stuff I see that I might take care of as well. But let me see if I can adjust the fuel and the RPM on this thing a little bit and see what happens.